day guys, nice to have you here. Today we'll talk about all of the tier 3 physical damage items in the game. We'll cover not just what each item can do, but also what situations they are most applicable in, and what other items or heroes go well with them. If you'd like more content like this, be sure to hit like, share, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Before we proceed with the main part of the video, let me first remind newer players that item effects and attributes labeled as unique do not stack. That means in most situations, buying duplicate items is not a good idea. Only regular effects and attributes can stack, and anything labeled as unique cannot. Halberd is a damage item best used by heroes that rely more on basic attacks because of the attack speed it provides. It also boasts decent damage and is a very effective means of reducing the enemy's HP regen and shield effects by half. In addition to HP regen and shield regen, it also reduces physical lifesteal, spell vamp, and magic lifesteal. The reduction works on regeneration acquired from both items and hero skills. Also, do note that most forms of damage from the user will trigger Halberd's life drain, including user skills. Because of how this effect works, it can be greatly effective when used by heroes such as Hanabi, since her passive skill, Petal Barrage, allows her bouncing projectiles to also affect the enemies with life drain. They recently gave this new effect which boosts the damage inflicted by the user by 8% against an enemy hero with higher extra HP. Take note that it only works if the enemy hero's extra HP is higher. This additional effect does not get triggered if the enemy hero only has higher base HP. What that basically means is the enemy hero has to have extra HP acquired from artificial means, such as emblems and items, in order for this to work. Rose Gold Meteor is an item with average stats and is one of the few attack items that provides magic defense. This is an amazing item that can in a lot of cases turn the tides of battle around because of its ability to provide a shield to the user once the user's HP falls below 30%. What makes this item so good is the 50% bonus movement speed it provides when its unique passive gets activated, which makes it a great buff to have in escaping enemies and also chasing them down during clutch moments. There are a couple of issues with this item though, reason why a lot of players are not using it. Number 1. At 60 seconds, its cooldown is just too long to be useful. Granted that the effect is pretty overpowered on the early game, but on the late game, its impact is close to insignificant. What brings me to point number 2. Heroes during the late game have a more powerful damage output, and since the maximum shield this item provides is roughly 1400 only, that, my friends, will break in a blink of an eye during the late game. This item can be used by a lot of heroes effectively, whether that's a hard-to-kill fighter, a streaky assassin, or a powerful DPS marksman. However, because of its mediocre stats and long cooldown, it might be best buying this item only when you really need to, such as if one or some of the enemies rely heavily on last hits or execution skills, such as Martis. Bloodlust Axe is an item with very basic stats, yet extremely useful, and is probably one of the most used items for physical damage heroes that rely heavily on skill damage. Spell Vamp provides the user with HP regeneration that scales based on how high the damage inflicted is. What makes Spell Vamp so good is that it calculates the HP gain based on the damage inflicted, not just on a single target, but on all enemies damaged by the user's skills. Hunter's Strike is an item with decent stats and cooldown reduction, which a lot of heroes need. It also has physical penetration, and while it is labeled as a unique attribute, it does stack with other items that have physical penetration, such as Blade of Heptaseas. However, the unique physical penetration of that item does not stack with another Hunter's Strike. What makes it special is its second unique passive, which grants the user bonus movement speed if the user is able to damage the same target 5 times in a row. Because of how its unique passive is activated, it would be more ideal to equip this item on heroes that are capable of dealing damage multiple times within a short period of time. Heroes like Balmond, Thamus, and Jawhead should be able to maximize this item to its full potential easily. This item is ideally purchased in the early game since it utilizes what we call fixed damage penetration, which directly bypasses the target's physical defense. If the user's physical damage penetration is higher than their target's physical defense, they will deal higher damage than their total physical attack. Blade of Heptaseas is an item with average stats. It also has physical penetration, and while it is labeled as a unique attribute, it does stack with other items that have physical penetration as well, such as Hunter Strike. However, the unique physical penetration of this item does not stack with another Blade of Heptaseas. What makes this item great though is its tremendous damage thanks to its unique passive. If no damage is taken or dealt on the enemy hero within the next 5 seconds, the next basic attack is enhanced and deals tremendous damage and slows the enemy down. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, damage item during the early game. Since this item does not have bonus attack speed, it might be a better idea to get it for heroes that do not rely too much on that stat. Just like Hunter Strike, this item is ideally purchased as early as possible because of its fixed physical penetration. Malefic Roar is one of the staple items from mid to late game because of its potential to render physical defensive items close to useless. Nothing is remarkable with its stats. What makes it special though is its physical damage penetration, which ignores 35% of the target's physical defense. Not only that, the physical damage penetration percentage further increases based on how high the target's physical defense is. The higher their physical defense, the greater the physical damage penetration of this item becomes. Unlike Hunter Strike and Blade of Heptaseas, Malefic Roar ignores a percentage of the target's physical defense instead of a fixed value. In other words, it's not the same with the fixed physical penetration Hunter Strike and Blade of Heptaseas have. With Malefic Roar, there will always be physical armor left to reduce the attacker's damage, which means if you buy it during the early game, its effect will not be as impactful as Hunter Strike and Blade of Heptaseas. During the late game, however, when most heroes have much higher physical armor, Malefic Roar will become more useful than Hunter Strike and Blade of Heptaseas. Blade of Despair is the most powerful item in terms of physical attack provided and offers a little bit of bonus movement speed. What makes this item very helpful is the unique passive, which tremendously improves the physical attack of the user for 2 seconds once their target's HP hits below 50%. The best part is, this unique passive does not have a cooldown, which means you can use its effect spontaneously as long as you have a target with less than 50% HP remaining. Pretty much all physical damage type heroes can take advantage of this item, regardless whether they're a marksman, fighter, or assassin. The only issue with this item is its cost. So usually it's ideally purchased mid to late game, or if you are going to purchase this early, you have to make sure your team is leading the game, because if you are not, then you'll end up stuck with mediocre items since the components of this item only provide bonus damage and no other benefits. Another thing is this damage item does not have physical damage penetration, so if you're going against a hero with very high physical defense, this item will barely help. Endless Battle is probably the damage item with the most stats. It's a very well-rounded item that provides not just longevity in battle, but also damage and mobility. No wonder it's the second most expensive physical damage item in the game. This item is most ideal for heroes who have low skill cooldown and cycle through their skill damage and basic attacks, since its unique passive is activated if a skill is casted. After casting a skill, the next basic attack within 3 seconds will be enhanced, which will deal extra true damage based on how high the user's physical attack is. In addition to that, the user's movement speed is temporarily boosted as well, which can be handy in chasing down enemies. Also, keep in mind that this item's unique passive can be activated by simply casting a skill. You do not even have to deal damage with your skill at all. The moment you cast a skill, whether it deals damage or not, your next basic attack will be enhanced. This can be an excellent item for heroes like Cho, Barretts, and Ruby. Haas Claws is one of the least used items in the game. It has average stats and pretty much only boosts the physical lifesteal of the user. I do not recommend choosing this item at all since its damage is unremarkable, plus the fact that it does not provide attack speed nor other important stats like penetration or even cooldown reduction. But if you really want to use this item, do so with heroes that heavily rely on basic attacks. Keep in mind that physical lifesteal does not give HP regen to the user from skills, but only does so from basic attacks. So avoid using these items on heroes that rely mostly on skill damage. War Axe is an item with mediocre stats but has a pretty amazing unique passive that works so well on semi-tanks or heroes that are built to deal a significant amount of damage while having the ability to last longer in team fights. This item allows the user to gain stacks per second, capped at 8 stacks. The stacks increases the user's extra physical attack and extra fixed physical penetration. The user's movement speed will also improve at max stacks, which can be handy in sustaining damage to the enemies, thus maintaining this item's stacks. The only problem with this item is heroes using it will have unremarkable damage at first, since this item only really becomes powerful during extended duels or clashes. It's ideally equipped for heroes built with a combination of damage and defense. Some examples are Yuzhong, Ruby, and Terizla. Also, keep in mind that this item's unique passive is less effective when equipped or used by marksmen, mages, and supports. Wind of Nature is an item that is best used by marksmen since its unique passive is halved when used by other roles. It has mediocre stats but has a very useful active skill that renders the user immune to all forms of physical damage. The problem with this item though is the ridiculous cooldown it has, which is 70 seconds, which is why it's only ideal to purchase this if one or more of the enemies heavily rely on a single skill to completely obliterate their target. A perfect example is using this item against Hilda. Hilda relies on her ultimate in order to delete enemies quickly, so if you're a marksman, perfectly timing this item's active skill can help you outplay Hilda. Some other heroes this item can be useful against are Deroth, Claude, and Brody. Golden Staff comes with average stats but is a very useful item for heroes who use special basic attack abilities, especially those that rely on attack speed. What Golden Staff basically does is after every 2 basic attacks, it doubles the effect of most heroes' next basic attacks and also briefly increases their attack speed and attack speed cap. Some basic attack special effects that this item's unique passive doubles are basic attack markers or stacks, and attack modifiers from both items and hero skills. One of the heroes that greatly benefit from this item is Carry. With this item's unique passive, Carry is able to gain more markers, which helps her efficiently trigger her passive skills through damage. Since this item also improves other items' basic attack effects, heroes that use items like Demon Hunter's Sword and Corrosion Scythe can become very effective as well with Golden Staff. Some examples are Claude, Sun, and Badang. In some situations, it can be a great idea to have all 3 items together. Be warned though, this item prevents the user from triggering critical attacks. So if your hero relies heavily on critical damage to be effective, or if the situation favors critical damage, I do not recommend getting this item at all. Corrosion Scythe has decent stats but shines best when equipped by heroes that heavily rely on basic attacks to take down enemies. Its unique passive allows the user to gain item stacks which slows the target and improves the user's physical damage and attack speed. This item works extremely well with Golden Staff's ability to improve Corrosion Scythe's stack gaining effect. The only issue with this item is its effect is halved when used by a hero that relies on long-ranged basic attacks such as marksman heroes. However, if the hero you are using has fast enough attack speed, this can still be very beneficial despite the nerf. Some heroes who can greatly benefit from this item are Wanwan, Popol and Koopa, Sun, and Thomas. Demon Hunter's Sword is probably the most famous item for physical damage heroes that rely strongly on their basic attacks. This item has average stats but is excellent in taking down enemies with high HP pools. Its unique passive allows the user's basic attacks to deal 9% of their target's current HP as extra physical damage. It also has the ability to imbue its user with lifesteal, so it can be pretty competitive as well as far as HP sustain is concerned. This item's unique passive is improved further by Golden Staff and can be very troublesome for a lot of enemy heroes from mid to late game. Because of its unique passive's nature to deal stronger damage against heroes with higher HP, it is recommended to buy this item mid-game onwards since a lot of the heroes' HP pools have significantly grown at that time. Sun is probably the hero who greatly takes advantage of this item the most. Scarlet Phantom is a damage item with average stats. This, however, is excellent when paired up with Berserker's Fury, since the effects of each item complement each other. Scarlet Phantom improves attack speed, which increases attack rate, therefore increasing the odds of dealing a critical strike. Plus the fact that this item also improves critical rate, while simultaneously further improving the user's attack speed and critical rate. With Berserker's Fury, the consistency of getting critical strikes is dramatically improved, while further improving the critical damage of the user further. Depending on the situation, you can also add Windtalker to the mix, which will dramatically improve the user's attack speed. In addition to that, Windtalker's unique passive benefits from high attack rate, since having high attack speed increases the cast frequency of its effect damage, which also critically strikes. The best part is, the movement speed of the user greatly improves as well while this unique passive is in effect. In most cases, especially if you're using a marksman, you either have to choose whether you will get Scarlet Phantom and Berserker's Fury, or if you will get Windtalker and Berserker's Fury. The question is, how will a player know which item combination to take? You can base it on the mobility of the hero you are using, especially if that hero is a marksman. If the marksman you are playing has good mobility, especially if it has blink or dash skills, you should get Scarlet Phantom and Berserker's Fury. If the marksman you are playing has poor mobility, then it might be more ideal to get Windtalker and Berserker's Fury. You can, in some situations, get all three items together, but that's not really a necessity, since in most situations, you might be better off getting Malefic Roar, especially during the late game when some heroes start getting tankier. Also, you have to keep in mind that not all heroes benefit from these items. You have to make sure that you read hero skills, especially their passive abilities, since some of them do not produce critical attacks at all, while some do not benefit from attack speed items as much as other heroes does. That concludes our Mobile Legends content for today. Did I miss any other recommendations that I should have mentioned on the video? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe, everyone. Peace.